Hi everyone, happy Thursday. Look at all the videos you're getting this week. It's been a better week. I was talking to my therapist today, and as we discussed, I think the time change shifted me to what is like my typical biological schedule, which seems to have helped a little bit with my fatigue this week. So I've actually felt a little more like doing stuff. Not a ton of energy, but it's something. Better. It is better, a little better. So, and you get more videos. And so I'm digging back into my archived recordings. So Tuesday I did the marker demo and kind of a marker wrap up where I talk about like storage solutions for your alcohol markers, or it could be water-based markers. And then I did a demo, mostly like that type of demo is pretty much how I color with markers almost all the time. So this one was one I recorded to show you guys a little bit more of like shading and blending. I used a variety of markers on this page, and I get down on myself a lot in the video. I wasn't feeling great when I did the picture, and like I just kept getting frustrated, and the picture looks good. I don't know why I'm beating up on myself a lot about it, but I think it's just because I don't do a ton of shading, and I just do or highlights or anything like that. And so you know, I wanted it to turn out better than it did, but you know, just kind of ignore that. I feel better about it now overall, and just kind of hoping in the future I can do more of that kind of stuff so I can get more comfortable with it. But overall, it's a fun picture, and I'm kind of glad I waited on it a few months, because everybody's, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are probably about to get started on Christmas coloring, and this is kind of Christmas, but it is Christmas in July, which is honestly my favorite kind of Christmas to color. So without further ado, let's go through the video, and then I will be back at the end with this extra piece of recording to wrap it up. Alright, next up we are going to do some blending and shading in a Amazon book. So I did show blending previously on like marker paper, which was in a Color It book. I'm going to put the card to the top right. My playlist is also in the description if you want to go see that. It's a demo out of the Goddesses book by Color It. And so what I'm going over here, if you've watched that, sounds a little familiar. It's just the speed at which you do it. It gets a little faster. So this is Christmas in July by Ava Brown. Not sure if I said that. I've already started on the page. What I figured we would do is some highlights, some shading, some blending, which is difficult on Amazon paper, but I've got the chisel tips to use, and I've also got some Copics just to show the brush tip side. And plus I'm limited in my colors. So like I said, this sounds a little familiar if you watch the Color It video, but so on Amazon paper it's a little different. Like, I don't plan on blending like the entire page. I just want to pick elements to blend, and particularly on Amazon paper, just because it dries so quickly, it can be really hard to achieve that blend and work fast enough to do so. So like a lot of times I like picking smaller things, like here, maybe the pineapple, the leaves on this tree, possibly the flamingo. That sack is too big. Like the shirts, the pants maybe, but like skin tone, I don't do a ton of blending like I used to. Hopefully I said blending instead of shading, but like I'll pick small areas, hair, like in Hannah Lynn page. This one I probably wouldn't do much blending, with the exception of maybe the water and then the sand. maybe the mountains, like if I did it in purple, maybe the sky. So yeah, just picking certain elements of the page to blend is a good way to go. Like I said, particularly on Amazon paper. So just looking for that right page where you just are like, oh yeah, I can blend this and that. Skin tones are very difficult for me. Like I tend to either outline or shade. I don't typically do a blend on skin tones just because I'm not that far along in marker blending. Um, Hopefully I've given some resources to some people who are probably better at markers than I am at this point. So, all right. So a couple things here. We're going to do the sand first. Now this is a pretty big chunk. So, however, it's a big area, but it can be broken up into small areas. And this is kind of going back to what I was talking about in some of my other tips videos, is that when it comes to marker on Amazon paper, working in small areas is best to get a consistent smooth color, and it is the same way when it comes to blending. So I have like this chunk here that I can do like a blend on, and I have this chunk here that I can do a blend on. So that seems pretty doable. Here I'm going to do a blend on his turtle shell because I do have these little chunks, areas that I can blend where it's not sitting on the paper too long. I'm probably going to do a blend up here, and then on his hat I'm going to do one. So when I'm doing blends, it's similar to colored pencils in that like when it comes to like the light shade, medium shade, and dark shade, it is a lot harder to achieve a different color blend, like doing like a pink and a blue and a green side by side without the colors getting really muddy in markers. So when it comes to blending with markers, in my experience, it's a lot easier when you're picking colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, or colors that are in the same, like they're both greens, but like you have a light green, a medium green, and a dark green. But possibly doing a blue green with a green is also a way. So you can achieve like a effect where you move from colors to colors, but you have to kind of move along the color wheels. So like you could go from green to green blue to blue, which I think I showed that in the goddesses one. You can do that, but you have to do it slowly between the colors that are next to each other, if that makes any sense. So one of the reasons I'm using some Copics in here is because all I have really is the 40 something in CaliArt and the 40 in Ohuhu. My Magic Bot markers are not made to blend well. The towel trees are too small for the areas that I need. And so it's either my Copics, which I purposely, those are the ones I bought to blend with, or it's using these. I want to use both just to show you guys brush tips and also chisel tips, because I know some of you are starting out just using chisel tips too. So looking at a color chart like this, I see these two colors. And this is where having more colors really comes to your advantage if you want to do a lot of blending. If you're just doing a lot of solid color, straight color, having a variety of colors is probably more appealing to you. If you're looking to do blends with similar colors, having a big set of markers that have like a light, medium, and dark shade of a color is probably going to be more useful to you if you like blending. But you can still make blends out of small sets. They can be 2 or 3 or however many you want them to be. But like I showcased these 3 in the Goddesses book as a good gold combo. These 2 work well side by side, though there's not a huge color difference between them. You possibly could add in the 118 if you went over the 205 a couple times. These 2 colors go well together. I think in that one I I think it was like, and you can also combine sets, so you don't have to have just all Ohuhu markers. You can have a mixture of Ohuhu and Cali Art if you want. I think I'm actually doing that in this. So another good reason to have the different brands, so that if they come with different colors, sometimes you can find that color you're missing on the other in the other sets. So just keep that in mind. I think that I did that here where I used like the ice blue, I used the vivid green, and then I think I used a color up here or something like that. So just finding those colors that are close to each other, that's how I blend well. These three colors go really well. You've got your light, your medium, and your dark. If you're going for a skin tone, these might work. However, your R100 and your R1000 look very close to each other. So you might have to go over the medium color a couple times to get that shade. Kind of like what we were talking about. Am I doing this in the outlining video? I'll show that one first, where you maybe put a couple layers down to build up some color to the shade that you're looking for. All right, so there's that. And then if you have a big set, this becomes a lot easier. As you can see, this is the Copic full set, and it becomes a lot easier to get those 2 and 3 color light, medium, darks when you have more markers to choose from. So that is why I'm using a couple markers from this set, and to also show the brush tips now. Where do we want to start? We want to start at the top. Darn it, I lost it. Where'd it go? I think it was just the 515 and the 804 was what I was going to try up here. Now, Amazon paper, as if you watch the Goddesses page, you can tell I worked fairly quickly. However, that's mostly because I'm used to doing so with the Amazon paper. But in Amazon paper, it wants to dry like pretty much as soon as you put the marker to the paper. So you can blend on here, but it's a lot more work, and it's like you can't go answer the phone in the middle of it, or just stop and then come back, and because then you'll have a line, and like it's one of those things that just requires a little more focus and work to get it. So what I'm going to do is I've got 2 Cali Arts, a 515 and an 804, and I'm just going to take this darkest marker and I'm going to use the fine tip. So for these, instead of using the chisel tip, I'm going to use the fine tip at first, because I'm worried due to the size of these leaves, the chisel tip will I will color outside the lines way too much. Alright. See if I can get a little closer. And maybe tilt it a bit. And change the focus. There we go. Alright. So basically I go ahead and take the caps off my markers, and I basically keep them together. If I have 3 markers, your third marker would be in the middle here. I'm basically going to rotate through the markers to get this blend, and yeah, so I'm starting with 515, which is the darkest, and I'm just going to start from here. Just trying to get a feel for it at first, so I can bring us down a little bit more. I would have really preferred to have another color here, but sometimes you just gotta make do with what you get. And these are small enough spaces that now, keep in mind the longer your marker is on the paper too, the more it's going to soak up into the paper. So if you're really, really working at these blends, there's a good chance you're going to have some feathering happen as that ink spreads out. So I would recommend you work quickly and lightly. Like just do maybe one layer like this. If you feel like you need to go back over it to darken a section, or go back over it, you know, with the lightest color or something, I would recommend waiting till it dries and then doing that to build up color. Because otherwise it's just going to keep spreading out and you're going to get a big blob. So, biggest difference with this and marker paper is marker paper, you can work at it and it's not going to soak into the paper like this. And it might look a little strange, but just be a little patient with it. Give it time to dry. It looks a little mottled, doesn't look super smooth. However, as it dries, that will change. And like, you don't have to do all the blending I'm doing here. Like, you could solid color this page and just like maybe do a blend here on the leaves. Like, especially if you're just starting out, you might be a little nervous about blending and like not wanting to do big areas, and that's fine. I don't even like doing big areas myself now. I seriously thought about doing the sky, and I could have. And I think it would have still turned out a balanced page. But I might just stick with my outline method. So you're going to get kind of all three on this one, plus some gel pens. I do want to, somebody did ask for me to work on a Hannah Lynn picture, and I am going to do that. That'll probably be my next demo. And I am repeating myself, I'm sure, because I record this in sections that don't necessarily go from the start of the video to the end, but I think after this video, it's really just going to be demos from here on out. I'm just going to make, because this one, these are underneath these, and they're going to be darker leaves anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and fill those just in with the green, just to give it that little bit a shaded effect. I see now I'm getting braver and I'm doing 2 or 3 at a time. You don't want to do that too much. If you get in a good rhythm, like if you're working a lot of leaves like this and you get into, you know, a good pace and you get comfortable switching back and forth between markers quickly, you know, I might do 2 or 3 leaves at a time, but that's as far out as I'm going to go because it just is going to dry so darn quickly. And yes, I get very impatient sometimes. Though I seem to have more patience blending markers than I do blending pencils. Not real sure why that is. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and finish up with the green there because it looks, sorry, I hit the camera. Looks like it's going up behind the tree, so it'd be kind of shaded anyway. Alright, so we're going to finish this up over here. And then I'll finish the rest up off camera so we can get to the other sections. This video is already going to be super long. And again, you might be better trying fine tips first when you're blending small areas rather than chisel tips, because if you get really juicy markers, again, you might have that situation where you're trying to layer 2 or 3 markers over each other and it's just going to soak out and it's going to blob, and you're going to be real mad when that happens. Trust and believe, you're going to be real mad when that happens. So I would definitely say maybe start out like in really small sections like this. Just start out with a fine tip. Practice on a page you don't love before you move to a page you do. Really, a lot of it is just, as I've said before, a lot of it is just practice. Learning the nuances of like how you work on Amazon paper versus how you work on colored paper. And you may decide, I don't want to do this on Amazon paper. It's really annoying and I get distracted easily and my blends come out all blobby. And you may decide you prefer just using marker paper, and that's okay. I like to use both, but I will say, like when I moved to the Goddesses page, it took me a minute to adjust because I'm so used to Amazon paper drying so quickly. It like took me a minute to okay, we're gonna try this one. It like took me a minute to adjust. Okay, so while we're up here, I am not well versed in highlights, especially putting like the white highlights on a page with a gel pen. I am terrible at it. You know, sometimes there are just certain things you feel good about and certain things you don't. Me, I get in a cold sweat every time I pick up that gel pen to do highlights because I can just never, ever get them right. Like, I see people and I'm like, oh, that looks amazing, and I just don't know where to put them. No matter how many videos I watch, it's just one of those things. But one of the things I do like to do, so like we have a bunch of clouds here, and I'm thinking the sun, so when you're thinking of shading and highlights and stuff, you obviously want to think about sun placement in your picture. I'm thinking the sun is probably like over here somewhere, right? Because all the clouds are right here, so we're going to say the sun's right in the open area right there, okay? And now, is my shading going to be perfect? Probably not, but what I like to do when I want something to look sun-kissed, and it's maybe it stays white, is I like to use a light yellow. In this case, we're going to use a pale lemon out of the Copic, though, yeah, there's not really a yellow light enough in the others, so I will look and I'll just go over the edges like this. So the sun is up where, you know, above this tree, so this cloud back here will still have some sun hitting it. Now, this is just something I like to do. Is it accurate, like physics-wise? And you can't hardly see it because it's so bright. I have such good lighting this time of day. Is it likely accurate? No. Like, I guess physics-wise or whatever, but it is just an effect I think is nice. And I can show you actually a page in this book, where I did it, and I really liked it. And that's why I was like, I'm going to do it here as well. So it is a little hard to see, but because this is a really light yellow. I'm going to do it on his mustache and beard too, because the sun's like hitting right here. So we're just going to go around the edge of his beard like this. Now I will probably come in and also do some light gray shading, but now you could carry this further and like use this to highlight. Like had I used a lighter gray here, I could have used a very light gray on the edge of this. Now if you put a lighter marker over a darker marker, you're going to get a little bit of a weird kind of mottled color. I don't know how to explain it. I keep calling it mottled, and like that. See, it doesn't look smooth. So also keep that in mind. You can't really put a lighter color over a darker color without getting that kind of weird look. But I'll give it some time to dry and we'll see. We'll see what that does. Since it's already there, I'm just going to go ahead and do it on the rock face. Now, on the opposite side, shading with like clouds and stuff like that, what do I want to pick? Here's one here that says gray sky. I kind of like that. We could just use that warm, oops, sorry, hit the camera again. We could just use the warm gray one again, if I can find it. Yep, alright. So, shade, of course, whoop. Actually, I'm gonna, so you see his beard here. Since this side, like the sun's kind of hitting this side, I'm adding shading to the other side. Now, you should probably use a lighter gray than this. And I should probably move to the fine tip. I've noticed I like doing this with the beards in this book because I don't want them to just be white. Like, I want them to have a little bit of a definition to them. And sometimes just adding in the shading. Okay, let me darken this a bit. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah. So again, it is very subtle. It is, but I think I generally do that just because I don't have a ton of confidence in my shading ability. So that's why a lot of times I do it very lightly. So if something goes wrong, I can be like, oh, it's really light. Nobody's going to see it. So yeah, in this case, I still get that weird kind of pattern thing. What I would have recommended, like if you really want to do highlights like that, like leave a strip of white around your rock and then add in like the yellow. So I've added in a little bit of the gray in the background as well, just to give the clouds a little bit of, so that you just don't have just the white. Like I said, is it exactly how it would be if he was sitting there? Probably not, but I like it. Alright. Yeah, we're going to keep this. It's really not that much darker. Okay, there. I think I would see it better like that. Okay. Let's do... There we go. Let's quickly move to the blending. So we're going to do a blending with brush markers here. And I'm using the Chrome Orange, the YR09, 07, and 04 in the Copic. It is one of my favorite go-to combos. I think it was in the original set that I bought. So let me think on how I'm going to do this. You notice I like going from dark to light. Not everybody likes doing that. A lot of people prefer going light to dark, but I've just found that's what works best for me. You're not really seeing a whole lot of difference between those colors, but just give them a chance to dry. Now Copics will give you a little more time to blend. Should wet. And see, this is what happens when you're not watching your marker order. That's okay. So here, theoretically, the sun should be shining like this way, but I went ahead and put the lighter color on the outer edge. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to keep working at it. If I keep working at it, it's going to keep soaking into the paper and cause issues. Okay. Other things you can do instead of, like if you want some color variation, is take certain objects, like this rock for instance. Instead of painting it, instead of coloring it all one gray and doing the outlining or shading or whatever, take a, like if it's broke up into sections like this, take this section that's facing the light, make it the lighter color, then come in with your darker color on the part that would be shaded. Now here typically I would use, this goes from a 1 to a 7, so it's pretty big difference, but that's fine. I don't mind that too much. And if that does bother you, what you can do is go over here I'm also going to go over that yellow and see what happens. See, some of this is just me learning as much as it is showing. Go over this 2-3 times, but give it all the time to dry in between. Like, give it plenty of time. The more layers you put on, the longer it needs to dry before you start adding on other color. We'll do one side of this, and then I'll show you the turtle, and then I'm gonna finish the picture off camera. Make sure I get this right. 210. Right. So this one's going to be interesting. So here I'm going to start with the darkest color up here and bring it down into 3. I'm using 3 colors. I think that's all I had really to work with. Yep, unless I want to go to, well, I could use pale fruit pink, I guess. No, this will be fine. Alright. So then I'm going to move to the next color. That was EO2. This is EO1. And go on that edge first there to keep that line wet. Yeah, I think I am going to grab that E0000. Yeah, I think I am. We're going to turn this into 4. This is E00. Go back, re-wet it. And then we're going to grab that lightest color I just did. So this is going to be a 4 color combo. Now I know there are going to be people that are going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're using your Copics on Amazon paper because it's a rough paper and it okay, yeah, I'm going to wait and let that dry. And then let's go ahead and do the other side because that didn't take very long. And I want to make sure I get I make it somewhat similar. Not that like a line has to be drawn across, but I don't want it to be like drastically different. But yeah, no, I know there's some people clutching their pearls, like, I can't believe you're using Copics on Amazon paper. It's tough paper. It'll ruin your nibs. Why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And A, I don't use my Copics much on Amazon paper unless I'm doing small amounts of blending. B, I like to color on my printer is acting like it's on its last leg, and it's getting harder and harder to use thick marker paper to print out images, and sometimes it's just easier for me to use the Amazon paper. And so I don't do this all the time, but even if I did, I mean, to be quite honest, it's my money. I haven't had any problems with my Copic nibs. In the 5 years I've had them and used them, I've never had a nib go bad on me. Which shows you it's not like I'm using these a lot, but it's also kind of like, then I'll just buy a nib replacement. Now, if you are on a budget and you, like I am going to be, like I said, am I going to use these on every page? No, but there are going to be times that I decide I want to use my Copics because I just have more colors in them. Now, this is where I would recommend, if you really like blending, we gave that time to dry. I'm going to go back over it all with the lightest color just to see if I can make it a little more seamless. Probably not. Now, if you do like blending, and you do like blending on Amazon paper, the recommendation I would give you for your budget is to buy a big set of Ohuhu markers. Like buy one of the 300 sets or something, to get all the colors that you would like to have for your blending. That would be the best thing I would recommend. Like, I wouldn't say buy Copics and use exclusively Copics. Now we're going to blend on the turtle. I'm going to wait, let this dry a little more, and I want to see what this does. So I'm using a Cali Art and 2 Ohuhus here for the turtle. 554 in both, which is a slightly different color, and 289. And we're going to try the bullet tips. God, this video is going to be so long. Maybe I split this into multiple videos. Alright. So, we're going to start with the darkest color here on the bottom. Yeah, I would recommend buy an Ohuhu set or buy a Cali Art set, like a big set, and use those instead to blend. I mean, for sure. I'm not saying the only way you're going to get good blends is to use Copics. That's obviously not what I'm showing here. So that color did not. It's a little brighter than I needed it to be. It is harder to work blends with a limited number of markers, just merely because you're limited in your colors. I was trying to think if there was anything else on here I might have to dip into. Well, let's give it a bit, and then I'll go back over the yellow-green. Now you can see where it's feathering a bit there. These are pretty juicy markers, so and here I'm just going ahead and going across the two. So had I more marker colors, I would have picked a less bright green. I would have tried to find a shade between that medium color and that bright color, but I don't think it's going to look too bad. I don't think it's going to look bad at all. Gives him a nice little pop color anyway, so. And again, here I should probably be more worried about like how the sun's hitting the shell and highlights, but actually here I should be probably moving to the chisel tip, because the size of these. Yep. Alright, we've shifted to chisel tip. That's alright. The biggest thing I'm going to do right now is give this time to dry before I do anything. Because you see that and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to go back in and put more layers of color over and keep working at it and working at it. And that is the danger with Amazon paper. That is where you get big blobs of mess that you really can't do anything with. So like the other two colors are real good. Like they are doing exactly what I wanted to do. I just didn't have that little bit of a fade. So let me stop there. Let's give it some time to dry. This video's running long anyway. Alright, so we're gonna, I do like that it's not fully dry, but about mess that up. Definitely make sure you have the right markers before you start. I'm going to go over it all with that lightest color again. Again, you might get a little bit of a weird look because this is lighter than the darkest colors, like this little bit of a, but that's okay. This is sand. It's textured anyway. So sometimes, like with this rock or sand or something that's textured anyway, I don't mind that look because it's supposed to be textured, right? So like, don't sweat it. Okay. So I've been doing this blend. I like it okay, except I feel like that green is a little too bright. So I'm going to go searching for another green. I don't think it's necessarily a, I was trying to think. Let's try that yellow green. YG03. So yeah, sometimes if you're pushing a combo, it doesn't always work. So I grabbed a Copic yellow green. I'm going to go over the whole thing. Yeah, it's still not quite as dark as I need it to be. But I'm going to let this dry. And I don't know, again, it's kind of textured. It's his shell. And, you know, like I said, it's not bad. It's just not seamless like the one up here. So, I think I'm going to continue with this one. I'm going to go ahead and work on the rest of the picture and then come back with the final pick. We're going to do that. Oh, well, there we go. Just a quick note, I did find a different green that I liked that darkens this green up just a little bit. So. And I am going to go ahead and go over it now. It's not as seamless of a blend, but you know, hey, like I said, sometimes that happens. Depending on what you're coloring, it might actually be a good thing. So there is the turtle. That's what we've got so far, and I'm going to finish it out and then show you guys the result. Well, there was one thing I forgot I said we were going to do, and that is a little bit of shading. God, it's amazing how in just 30 minutes to an hour it seems like my lighting changes. Okay, so I went over the yellow with, like, I think it was pale lemon or something to make that a little more obvious. I can actually show you guys because it's in the same book. I did it in this on this page and I really liked it. I can't remember what yellow I used there, but you can see it a little bit in there. I actually did it right, like on the tips of his hand, like I should have done. I should have done with this rock and some different things, but we are going to try to shade with the grays. So a couple different ways you can do this. You can shade with a darker color. You can shade with a dark gray. Let me see here. So we're going to try this gray first and see how I like it. I've got a warm gray 170 from the Ohuhu set. We're going to start on the tree first, and I'm going to put her focus back. Still looks grainy. I just don't know anymore with this camera. Alright, so we're going to create some shading on this side of the tree along the ground, and probably along these lines, I'm thinking. So I'm just going right underneath those lines. That just designates to me bark, so there would be a slight shadow underneath those layers. Probably as you get up the tree closer to the sun, it's less prominent, or maybe more, I don't know, but I'm just going to do it across the tree, just because I'm a bit of a novice at this kind of thing. Alright, so there's that. I said I was going to outline the sky too. I'll do that off camera. So basically I try to shade, like I said, you can shade with the same color. Put over this will give you a slightly darker tint or shade. That will work. That's normally what I like to do with outlines. It's real subtle. You can go with a slightly darker shade than the color that's there, or you can experiment with using grays. Like that right there actually worked out really well. I'm probably going to use that on this shirt as well because it is a darker color. Because remember, if you use a lighter color over a darker color, you get that kind of weird textury look. So you want to look at your tones and if need be, test in a small area. Like here's right under his beard, so let me, yeah, that seems like that's gonna work just fine. So I basically look, anything that I think would create a shadow underneath is where I'm going to put my shading. Again, there are a lot better ways to do this, a lot more realistic ways. But for me, like I said, I'm pretty much, it's one of those things I don't do very often. So there's going to be a shadow under this guitar, ukulele, whatever it is. So I'm going to follow that there. I'm also going to make just a tiny line right here. If the sun is beaten down, it's probably not as prominent of a shadow, but I would say there's probably still a slight shadow there. I'm not going to go over the orange with the dark gray. I think I'm going to use the light gray and see. So any types of creases, anywhere you think a shadow would show up. Let's use a light gray anywhere the orange is, because it is a lighter tone and I don't want to create too dark of a color. So that's kind of, and now I've got to sharpen the focus. There we go. I can see a little bit better. So yeah, you can see I used the W170 on the darker red, then I used the 150 on the light orange, and you can tell like it does give some shadow. Alright, pretty good with his beard. Trying to think. He probably has a light shadow where this white overlaps. This is a darker orange, so I'm going to use the darker gray. Now, I probably should have just used the darkest orange there, but it's fine. Here, this darker gold color. I don't know if I particularly like that. I almost would rather just use a darker color, though I am using the darkest color other than an actual orange. I could try apricot. YR16. I should have waited to let it dry, but do as I say, not as I do. Okay, yeah, I like that better. So that's going with a darker shade, giving you a shaded effect. I'm probably going to go over with maybe some gold glitter gel pen. That right there. Where is the yellow I used? I think it was acid yellow. I'm going to... Can't really hardly see it because it's just a shade difference, but where those strings would be, it would be darker. So just want to make sure. Like I said, anybody looking at this page probably isn't going to see it, but I'll see it and I'll know. So with his skin, because it's so dark, I figured we could go with a black, but there's this kind of dark blue-gray that I tried on a small area here and I think works really well. Like I said, sometimes it's just testing. Like in small areas to see if it's going to work. Now up here along where this hat's at. Shoot. Just darkening the area under his eyebrows. Actually, I'm gonna darken his eyes with this. I'm gonna get those little laugh lines. And right here where his mustache comes in, I'm going to get along his beard line there. And then a couple of points right there. So, is that is that a lot of shading? No. But I think it's pretty good for what I'm looking for here. I'm also going to do this with the turtle. We're going to make it a little thicker line, I think, under the turtle. Because he is probably going to create a pretty good shadow. I'm actually just drawing it in and then I'm going to go fill it in. There we go. Now, for the I'm going to use a very light gray on this side because of course, like I said, the sun is over here. So and I'm going to create some little shading under the, I'm going to probably just gel pen these in. This beach needs a little bit of a sparkle. I'm going to make a thicker line right there because of that rock. I'm also going to go in actually we're gonna add a little bit to the rock as well. I think this is going to be its own video. Just the length of time we've spent on this one. I think this is going to be a marker demo. That's okay. At least I have plenty of videos. So all these little doodads on the beach, the little creases and stuff, I'm just adding in some gray just to give them a little bit of a shadow definition. And the cool thing is, if I don't think this is enough shadow, if you use like this was a really light color on a light color, if I don't think it's enough, I can then layer it 2 or 3 times. Now, if you have more grays, like more than like the 3 grays I'm working with, then you won't have to do this. You'll have definitely more what am I trying to say? You'll definitely have more, you won't have to layer like this. But if you're only working with so many grays or so many colors sometimes, you have to layer a bit to get the shade that you're looking for. And always, you know, go light. And you still can't really see it, can you? Okay, so this is a 1. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is not giving me the result I want. So we're going to go with a 3. And that's good enough at this point. I have went over it 3 or 4 times. It's good enough. Alright, so we've got that. I'm going to use the darkest color I used on the turtle, which is the marine green, to create the shadow here. Now, it's not going to look that different in the middle because I already used the darkest color to color there, but also going to go like that. Kind of like some outlining as well, just a little bit. Not really, but so I'm using the color that I used to color this part of the turtle to just create a little more subtle shading. I don't want it to be super dark like the marine green. Just going along his creases here. That side's facing away from the light, so that'll have some. He looks like he's got a little mustache there. That's pretty funny. There we go. And y'all didn't see none of that. Oh, that's fine. Alright, last thing, and then I'm finishing this picture. Oh, I totally missed. Oh, those are hairs on his arm. Do I want to do the hairs? Yeah. He's gonna look a bit like a porcupine, I guess. Oh boy, I gotta take my glasses off to see this. I'm also going to do his nails in glitter just because I can. If you're wondering why I haven't colored in his nails yet. I forgot I could get that side of his knee as well. There we go. Alright. Ugh, now it's too bright. I just... Again, this is why I only do videos at certain times of the day, because I know what... Okay, so all I'm going to do down here is probably, what do I want to go with? Let's try the light gray on this. And it's a little hard to see. Okay. I feel like all I've done for the past hour, well, hour plus, is do a bunch of coloring to a picture that nobody can see. And it feels extremely frustrating. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me add some gel pen to this real quick. And I'm back. Just wanted to go back over this, looking at it a few months later, kind of my thoughts on it. The original closing I had, like I said, I was really kind of mean to myself. The more I look at this picture, the happier I am with it. I do apologize. It is late in the day, so my lighting's a little weird. What would happen if I just turned it off? It's too dark. This is the bane of my existence, y'all. It's either not light enough or too light, or... Anyway, so here is the finished picture. Looking at it now, I think it turned out really well, especially for not having a ton of experience shading. I think I used the Copics, if I remember right, on the sand. I feel like they blended really well. It's a little easier to see in person, but you guys did see me actually go through that. I do like the highlights with the light yellow from the sun, and then the shading from like the darker part, like where I was trying to use grays. I like that a lot. I love the blending up here. The little bits of blending like that, like I did in that, and the color it picture, which I still have yet to complete that, with the goddess on it. I love those little bits of blending because those are easy. It's just when you get to the bigger stuff is where I struggle. But I add a little bit of gel pen to him. I'm trying to see if it shines at all. Not really. You can see it. I even gave him a little bit of shine on his nails so he could feel a little bit extra. And yeah, looking back at this is not a bad picture at all. I don't know why I beat myself up about it. I'll get there. So I hope you enjoyed the marker series. I guess this is officially the end of the demos, the official demos of the marker series, and going over the different parts of it. One day I will do this for watercolors and for colored pencils, but that is a while out yet. I got to get a lot of things in my life sorted before I do any big planning like that, so maybe look to Q1 or Q2 next year for that. The holidays right now, I'm still on my leave, still trying to get where I need to be. I am putting together, I need some, I'm putting together some paperwork for some accommodations that I really need to be implemented, at work, for when I go back. And so any, just a quick note, any good thoughts, any kind thoughts, prayers, what have you, you could send my way, because really that's going to impact my future. So I am working on that, really nervous about that. But hopefully I will find out something in the next few weeks. I go back on the 4th. And yeah, I mean, things are plugging along. So this weekend, tomorrow, you're going to see my coloring book collection. I did get one new book in, but I want to wait till I get the other one in. I had ordered a couple Korean, Japanese coloring books from Etsy, and I got one in, but I'd really like to get the other one in before I do the flip through, but we'll see. We're not going to do it this weekend. But I'm going to do my updated coloring book collection tomorrow with all the books through like September and October. And then I think it's through September and October. Whatever, ever since my last update. And then Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to post my completed pages for basically the past like couple months, 2.5 months. And then, like I said, I will do another completed pages probably at the end of December, and that'll be about a month and a half. So, and then for next week, I don't have any big videos planned during the week. There's a 3 for the price of 2 sale on Amazon. I'm really trying to decide whether or not I want to buy Small Victories or wait, because it is on the 3 for 2 sale. I did say I'd rather wait till the end of the month. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but probably won't see much from me next week unless I do a new book flip through till next weekend, and then we might do a color and chat or something. So hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for watching these, and bye for now.